The Premier League is finally back. We're going to go through pretty much every single team, the range I'll think they'll finish, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to go through the whole table and where I think all the teams are going to finish. This is going to be a spoiler for the rest of the league, unfortunately. I know you'd want to watch it with your own eyes, but I'm actually just going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. So we start with Arsenal. Arsenal, they've kind of upgraded at center back, Ben White is a decent signing, probably a bit overpriced, but a good signing nonetheless. And Lokonga looks like a very decent prospect, but considering the fact that they finished 8th last year, I don't think they've done enough in the transfer window. Now, at the time of me recording this video, which is the 12th of August, one day before the season starts, Arsenal have only signed Ben White, Lokonga, and Nuno Tavares. They haven't really, made any real improvements to their first team. And I think actually that their biggest issue wasn't even in their defense. It was their lack of creativity and goals. And I know that Arsenal had a good second half of the season. They were like 3rd from January or whatever. I don't know. But from what I saw from Arsenal in preseason, it just looked like more of the same, just not good enough. And I know it's just preseason, but when you play two of your biggest rivals in a preseason tournament in the Mind Cup or whatever it was called, and they lost both of those games and they didn't look that great in either one, I think I've seen enough to know that Arsenal aren't going to have a great season. I know you might say it's biased because I'm a Spurs fan, maybe, but I'm trying to look at this as objectively as possible. I think Arsenal are going to have a bad start to the season. I think Arteta's going to get sacked midway through the season. They might move for another play. They might try and get Conte. I don't know. I can't tell the future. But I do think Arteta's getting sacked. And my predicted finish range for Arsenal is 7th to 10th. I don't see them finishing higher or lower than that, really. I think that's their range. Next up, Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa have been very active in the transfer market. They lost Grealish, their best player, their captain, their talisman. But you could argue that they have a more balanced squad now with the additions of Danny Ings, Emi Buendia, and Leon Bailey. Ings is injury prone though, so I'm not sure if he'll be fit for the whole season, but if he's not available, they still have Watkins to make up for when he's not there. So they have good depth now. Aston Villa's team is very good. It's very well balanced in all positions. It might be a bit light in midfield, but they have options there too. They have McGinn, they have Douglas Luiz, they have Sanson, they have quality all around in the defense, in the midfield. I expect them to be in the battle for European football. I think they'll finish from 6th to 10th this season. Brentford. Now, Brentford are a bit of a funny one. They're the hipsters team, if you will. They use all the XG, the money ball. They're very unique in the way they run the football club, and it's been very successful for them, and I respect them for that. And they've made a few decent additions for cheap, Frank Onyeka is a very energetic box-to-box midfielder with Champions League experience. Azure, I don't know how to pronounce that, the center back. He's a very competent ball-playing defender. And Yohan Wissa has been decent in League One, scored, I think, 10 goals last season. But I'm not sure if Brentford have really added enough to be like a solid Premier League team. I don't like saying all 3 of the teams are going to go down. And I think there are 3 teams that are worse than Brentford. So I do think they'll stay up. I don't think their squad is very strong. I think it'll be a bit of a tussle for them. They might be in a relegation battle, but I don't see them going down. My predicted finish range for them would be between 14th and 18th. Brighton have done not that much in the transfer window, to be honest. But the player that they did bring in, Enoch Nwepu, he's a great midfielder from Red Bull Salzburg. I think he's going to create a great partnership with Yves Bissouma. It's just that midfield is great for Brighton, and they're the XG merchants, basically. They should have scored a lot more goals than they did. The finishing has been poor. They've been unlucky for the majority of the last season. They probably shouldn't have been in a relegation battle, but they were. And I don't think they'll be as unlucky as they were last season this season. I don't think that's possible. I think they will do better this season. They're not done in the transfer window, I don't think, or I hope not, because they need a striker desperately. But I'm going to assume that they will have signed a striker by the end of the window. I hear they're interested in Eddie Nketiah. I don't know if that'll happen. But even if they don't sign a striker, I still think they'll stay up. But, my predicted finish, which is 10th to 14th for Brighton, might not be accurate because, they can't finish. But again, I'm hoping they're unlucky. They'll probably do better this season. I'd be shocked if they didn't. 10th to 14th. Burnley have done basically nothing this window. Their squad is incredibly average. But it's Burnley, so they'll stay up. 14th to 17th. Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's squad is so rich in talent that they haven't actually had to be active in the market. Lukaku is the statement signing. He's the elite striker that was what many people are describing as the missing piece in the puzzle, and it's hard to disagree. Like, you could argue they're a bit light at center back, but they're linked with Koundé, and they might sign him by the end of the window. I don't know. If they do, then Chelsea are pretty much set. The thing about Chelsea is that they signed a lot of players last year. The team is very young. A lot of those players last year that weren't that great, they will be better this year. Ziyech will be better this year. Havertz will be incredible this year. I guarantee it. I will be shocked if he doesn't ball out this year. Werner will probably be better with a strike partner in Lukaku. All these players that they signed will only improve this upcoming season. Chelsea's squad depth is very good. The only team that probably rivals them in terms of squad depth is City. And because of this, I think they're going to be involved in a title race this year. I think they really needed an elite striker. And if Lukaku does what I think everyone expects him to do, then Chelsea are going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. So my predicted finish range for them is 1st to 3rd. No, big talk. Crystal Palace. Now, they've done some good business, I think, signing Guehi, Olise, Anderson, and Gallagher. I think Palace have been very shrewd in the transfer market. I think Olise is someone that might not necessarily shine this season, but he definitely will in future ones. Their defense is solid now. Benteke is coming back into form, and they have Zaha. Like, Crystal Palace are pretty good. I'd say watch out for Eze when he comes back from injury. Baller. He's been set back, but I still see him being a top player in the future. I do question Patrick Vieira though. He's not really an exceptional manager from what we've seen, but he does know the Premier League very well, and he's probably better prepared than most to manage it. Like he knows the league very well. The predicted range I have for Crystal Palace is 12th to 17th. They're one team I'm not very sure about, but I think they'll be around in that mid-table range, but they might even sneak into a relegation fight. Who knows? I doubt it though. Everton. Everton are a mess. Squad is okay. They haven't really made any additions. They signed Begovic. I don't even know if you want to count that. Benitez is a solid manager, but he just hasn't been backed yet. Maybe by the end of the window, they'll act, but Everton really haven't done anything as of yet, and I'd be worried because this team finished 10th last year, and it's not really a young squad, so they won't really get better. And then there's the whole Sigurdsson situation, which I don't even know what to say. Let's just say he's not going to play. He will not play. And surely they're going to have to replace him. So Everton are a bit of a mess. 8th to 11th, I think I'm being generous. That's it. Leeds are doing their thing. Bielsa is their boss, but really all they did was change one position. And you need to strengthen when you're in the Premier League, especially when you finish the season in a good position. You can't just, rest on your roses. What do you say? Rest on your laurels? You can't do that. That's what Sheffield did, and look what happened to Sheffield. They're a good team, but I just have a feeling that second season syndrome just might hit them. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they really struggled this year. I don't think they'll get relegated though. Leeds are a tough one, man. Especially you can tell in my predicted finish, I had them from 10th to 17th. Like, I know that's a huge range. That's basically not even a prediction, but Leeds could do anything this summer. I wouldn't be surprised. I literally wouldn't be surprised if they finished mid-table again and we're fighting for Europe. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were fighting against relegation. It's that crazy for Leeds, but you'll see exactly where I put them in my final prediction. Leicester. They signed Soumare, Patson Daka, Ryan Bertrand. It looks like they've signed Vestergaard now. Patson Daka is a very good signing in my opinion. He could be the Vardy successor. The only issue is that he played in Austria, so you don't know. Like, he was decent in the Champions League as well, but you just don't know until they play in the Premier League, do you? Or at least a top league. Soumare is a baller. Oh, Soumare, what a signing. 18 million euros, one of the steals of the summer. He's going to be a top level footballer in the future, and he's already great now. He's 22 years old. What a signing. I don't know how Leicester keep doing this. I don't know how they keep finding these players, and it's just so impressive. Their recruiting system is elite. Leicester are certified now, man. We know what we'll get from them. Leicester shouldn't surprise anyone if they challenge for top 4. The only issue is that Fofana and Evans are both injured, and Fofana more long-term, probably looking to him coming back in like 2022. But they do look to Abraham and Vestergaard, so that might not be as big as first feared, because, Vestergaard's an issue. Still a solid back line. Their issue has always been injuries, though. So, if they stay injury-free, they'll probably challenge for top 4, and they might even finish in it. But they'll probably get injuries, so I don't know. And I'm not really sure if they have enough to finish in the top 4 squad-wise, but if they're consistent throughout the season from start to finish, I think they will. But they're Leicester, so they will not be consistent from start to finish. I just don't see that happening. And just one thing to note about Leicester is, like, I struggle to think of a better double pivot in the league than Ndidi Tielemans. Like, think about that. Ndidi Tielemans, like, that's a crazy midfield too. Leicester, they're a serious team, man. Don't disrespect them. 4th to 7th, that's my prediction. Liverpool. They signed Konate. They lost Wijnaldum. That's pretty much all they've done, really. They have an incredible starting 11. They have a huge number of center backs. But one could argue that their forward line, minus Salah, is getting a bit stale. I do think that Jota being fully fit will help out with that, though. Van Dijk is back, and I'm not sure if he'll ever quite hit the heights he did prior to the injury. I don't think he will. But I do think that he'll still be good enough to be the best center back in the league, and that's really what Liverpool need, and that will be enough to be a serious game changer for Liverpool. I feel like people are sleeping on Liverpool. I feel like people think that Liverpool are kind of washed, and there is an argument that the squad is a bit stale, but I wouldn't count Liverpool out. I think that's very dangerous to count them out. Robertson got a pretty bad ankle injury during preseason, so it's gonna be a loss. I think we might see a bit of Tsimikas. I know, how crazy is that? But at the end of the day, we have to realize Liverpool's team is elite, and they will have a point to prove. But while the teams around them have invested in recent seasons, they've improved. Liverpool pretty much stayed the same, if we're being brutally honest. Like, you look at Liverpool's team 3 years ago and Liverpool's team now, they aren't any better. Maybe you could argue Thiago, but I don't know. I just don't think. I think they're trending downwards, and because of that, I just don't know if they'll be able to win the league. But my predicted finish for them is 1st to 3rd, because again, it's Liverpool. Look at their team; it is stacked. Manchester City. They've signed Jack Grealish. They've lost Aguero and Eric Garcia. They're probably going to lose Bernardo Silva, maybe Gabriel Jesus. We don't know. But they've signed Grealish. But to be honest, I don't think Grealish really improves City. Like, don't get me wrong. Grealish is a great player, and he improves any team he goes to. I'm not saying that he doesn't improve them, but I don't think City were lacking in creativity, you know? Like, going from Bernardo Silva to Grealish, I think it's an upgrade, but I don't think it's a crazy upgrade. Like, it's like, oh my god, game changer. It's not that. Grealish, he's a top player though, so, you know, they're just adding to their embarrassment of riches. It's ridiculous. We know what City are about, and I think it'll be a very interesting title race. But if they sign Kane, they will win the league. Not even a question. It's not difficult to decide. There's no reason to even watch the Premier League if they sign Kane, because they will win the league, and it will not even be close. That is a big if they sign Kane, because they haven't, and quite frankly, I don't think they will. Kane aside, I still think the only team that comes close in terms of depth is Chelsea. So again, for Man City, my range for them is 1st to 2nd. I don't see them doing any worse than finishing 2nd this year. At this rate, especially if they sign Kane, Man City will kind of turn England into like the other leagues where Bayern Munich win the league every year, PSG win the league every year, except for last year, and Juventus win the league every year, again, except for last year. But you know what I mean, like one team dominates. That's what the Premier League will become at this rate, especially if they sign players like Kane. But, you know, 1st to 2nd, that's my opinion. And we go to Man United. Man United have made really 2 signings, but they made 2 very, very good signings, and Sancho and Varane. That's just incredible. Their team is just so good now. Like, you could argue they're one DM away from being a proper like title winning side now. The only issue is that I don't really rate Ole, to be honest. Still, I don't think he's an elite manager. I think he's a good manager. Is he a title winning manager? I don't think so. They have a very good squad though, and they had a very good season last year in terms of league finish. You know, they were decent. They were okay. They were quite good. They were the best of the rest technically. They could finish in the top 3, but I don't see a title challenge from United. I just don't rate Ole that highly. I don't, quite frankly. I'm sorry. I see them finishing 3rd to 4th. That's pretty much it for Man United. Newcastle. So as I'm making this video, it looks like they're in the final stages of completing the signing of Joe Willock, which is a good signing, but again, they had Joe Willock last year, so they haven't really improved their team. They're kind of just keeping their team the same. And they're in limbo right now. Newcastle are an interesting team. The takeover is just looming, but it's not really happening right now. They have a bad manager, and they have a worse owner. And don't let this purple patch that they had towards the end of the season, where they somehow finished 12th, trick you into thinking Steve Bruce is a good manager, because he's not. He's not, really. He's not great. I'm sorry. I bet he's a great guy. But he's not a great manager. Let's be frank here. However, he is kind of doing the job, if we're being honest. He's doing the job, and I think they'll do it again. I wouldn't be shocked. Let the record show. I would not be shocked at all if Newcastle got relegated this year, but I just don't see it happening. My range for them is 13th to 18th. Norwich are going back down. I mean, Norwich done actually quite well in the transfer market, considering they sold their best player, and I mean Buendia. They brought in Mila Rachitska, Billy Gilmore, Josh Sargent, Ben Gibson, Christos Zolis as well. He's a good young player. The only issue is none of those players, except for maybe Billy Gilmore, because you've kind of seen it from him before, none of those players are guaranteed to actually perform in the Premier League, like, if we're being completely frank. Ben Gibson is a Burnley reject. Like, come on. That's a bit harsh, but you know what I mean. Like, their defense is not good enough for the Premier League. Their center backs especially. They've lost Buendia and Oliver Skip, who were two of their best players last year in their championship winning team. And in this Premier League season, they're just, I don't know. I don't see it from them, especially defensively. They don't have any good DMs. They don't have a great selection of center backs. The fullbacks are okay, but I just don't think they're going to be great defensively this year. These guys are going to be the league's entertainers this year, I see. It's going to be exciting, end-to-end football. There's going to be a lot of goals scored, but there'll be even more conceded for them. So expect them to finish 16th to 20th. Southampton. Oh, God, Southampton. They are a team in free fall. Southampton were so bad for the second half of the season. I cannot stress how bad they were. I see them going down. I do. I see them going down. They lost Danny Ings, pretty much their best player, their main goal scorer. They replaced him with Adam Armstrong, which is probably about as good as they could have done, but he's a championship striker. I know there's all the Ivan Toney hype, but Ivan Toney kind of had the best individual season for any striker in championship history, so I feel like he's a bit different. Adam Armstrong was just good, and I don't know if that's good enough for the Premier League. I've seen very prolific players in the Championship not quite do it in the Premier League. So it is a gamble. He does not guarantee you the 15, 20 goals a season, if fit, that Danny Ings would guarantee you. Their squad has gotten stale, and I just think their time in the Premier League's over. They've lost Vestergaard as well. You could argue is their best defender. It looks like Ward-Prowse could be off to Villa or Spurs. It's just not looking great for Southampton right now. And I think they'll finish 15th to 19th. But speaking of Spurs are the next team we're going to talk about. They're kind of in a period of transition, if you will. There's a bit of a clear out that's trying to happen right now with Lamela leaving, Alderweireld leaving. Aurier looks like he might be on his way out, some with Sissoko. There's a lot of change, and there's also been some incomings. They brought in Christian Romero, who's a great signing. He was voted best defender in the Serie A last season, and if you watched Spurs last season, you'll know that their biggest issue was their defense, especially the individual errors that their defenders used to make all the time. So Christian Romero, he might just have that, that Van Dijk, Ruben Diaz kind of impact where he just transforms a poor defense. All their activity has been, shrewd so far, with the loans for Romero and Galini, with the options to buy later on, saving money to be able to use later on in the window. But they finished 7th last year, and they've only made one real improvement to the starting 11. And that's not even to mention the whole Kane situation. If Kane leaves, it's anyone's guess where Spurs finish. We don't know. I still think Spurs might do okay without him if they reinvest well. But again, these are all hypotheticals, and the season starts tomorrow. So I'm just going to work with what's in front of me. Kane is a part of the team right now, and we'll just assume that he's still going to be a part of the team for the rest of the season. I think Spurs will do better this season than they did last season. I'm not sure if they've done enough for Champions League football, but I do expect a season of improvement. I have them from 5th to 7th. You might say I'm biased for where I put Spurs in the final table, and my response to that is maybe I am, okay? I'm a Spurs fan. What do you want me to do? You want me to just forget that I'm a Spurs fan? Okay? I'm sorry. I'm going to be optimistic for my team. Sue me. Watford have signed a lot of players, and they probably let go of a lot of players as well as Watford. They're just so weird. I don't understand Watford. They've bought a lot of strikers, but ironically, I don't think they'll be able to score that many goals. I think they'll struggle. I think they'll struggle in every area. I don't think their team is good, and their manager is going to get sacked at the end of the year. Or maybe mid-season, but the manager will get sacked at some point this season. Whether he does well or not, it does not matter where Watford finish. He will get sacked. But I do have them getting relegated. I just don't think they're good enough. And my predicted finish, 16th to 20th. West Ham have pretty much only signed Areola, and their squad is dangerously thin for a team that has to deal with the Europa League. They've made no improvements while their rivals are strengthening. And I do expect them to move late in the window for some like nice cheap deals, but as of now, it does not look great for West Ham. I think they're going to struggle this season, and I have them finishing from 10th to 16th. Yeah, sorry, West Ham fans. Last but not least, Wolves. Wolves have signed Jose Sa and Trincao. Milico Rui Patricio. You might see that and say that Wolves haven't done much, but I'm also counting Raul Jimenez as an addition, and he is probably their best player. Like, they really struggled without him last year. And if Raul Jimenez can manage to reach the heights that he did before the head injury, which I really hope he does for his sake, then Wolves will have a good year. They have good depth out wide. They have a balanced midfield. They have good options all around, really. They're a solid team, but I can't really see them doing much better than mid-table. They might just scrape into the fight for Europe, but I doubt it. I think they'll be pretty comfy in upper mid-table, maybe top half. Bruno Lage did a good job with Benfica, so I'm excited what he can do with this Wolves team. I have them finishing from 8th to 13th. Now, given all that information, this is my predicted Premier League table. Watford at the bottom, 20th, 19th, Southampton, 18th, Norwich, 17th, Brentford, 16th, Burnley, 15th, Newcastle, 14th, Crystal Palace, 13th, West Ham, 12th, Brighton, 11th, Leeds, 10th, Wolves, 9th, Everton, 8th, Arsenal, 7th, Villa, 6th, Leicester, 5th, Spurs, 4th, Man United, 3rd, Liverpool, 2nd, Man City, 1st, Chelsea. Yes, you heard it. You heard it. Norwich, Southampton, and Watford are going down. Man City is not going to win the league. Chelsea will win the league. They'll call me a madman now, but when Chelsea are lifting that Premier League trophy, they'll recognize me for the visionary I am. Hopefully they don't win it, by the way. Like, I would prefer Man City to win the league again to Chelsea, but I do think Chelsea are going to win the league. I know it's crazy, but it's going to happen. Spurs are going to finish 5th. I know they're saying, what? Why? You're overrating Spurs. Kane's bottle Spurs. Shut up. Shush. I didn't force you to watch this. Hey, you click this video, man. This is my prediction, okay? So, what are you going to do, huh? You can't change my mind. Okay, I'm rambling now. That's going to be it for this video. Remember to like the video, subscribe, comment down your predicted Premier League tables below. Tell me what you agree with. Tell me what you disagree with. Tell me if I'm a genius or an idiot. Just, be vocal. And if you really enjoy the content, I've got a lot in the catalog. I've got a Twitch channel that I'm not using, but I probably will in the future. So, follow Great Time Man. Link in the description. See ya!